before I start writing, I figured I'd try to give vlogging a shot because sometimes it's easier, sometimes it's worse. But do you ever feel like you're living in a constant state of panic and alarm? Like your fight or flight is constantly, endlessly being activated? An example that I was thinking of was that I was driving to get my son's birthday cake, and I was thinking about what my writing topic would be for today. And then I was thinking that everything I've been writing is absolute garbage. And I was wondering why that is, and it occurred to me that my friend Danielle made a suggestion that I talk more in depth about, you know, the way that I was, just a particular writing one day that I let her read. I sent to her, she said, you know, why don't you go more in depth with how you were feeling about that? And of course my excuse was, well, feelings, I didn't even know I had feelings, so I wasn't going to share those feelings because I'm still exploring them. They're new. I didn't realize that I had any emotion whatsoever. I had forgotten that that event had even occurred. So it's hard for me to access or be able to describe those emotions. And that is true. But what is also very true that I've realized is that when I sit down to write, much like when I sit down to do anything, any type of task that I try to complete, I am constantly in a rushed state. Everything that I do feels like there's a stopwatch running, and I don't know any time in my life when it didn't feel that way. So that's why I kind of feel like I've always, as long as I can remember, been in this panic state. It's kind of terrifying. And, you know, reading last night, I was reading about, you know, the after effects of 9/11 and how, in the grand scheme of things, not that many people were hurt, and it's not a sincere threat to everyone. Just like, you know, gun violence is not necessarily a sincere threat all the time, and yet we live with this constant fear and panic. And the book I was reading last night kind of had to take a break because it was talking about the amount of people that, you know, died as a result from hypertension, from fearing every day that someone was going to crash a plane into their building. I am a victim of that because I was in middle school when the planes crashed, and so we didn't start until like 9 o'clock in the morning. We were on the East Coast too, so all that information was coming in right when we were going to class, and the teachers were told they weren't allowed to let us listen to it and to turn the TVs off. But we were a little older. I think it was in 8th grade, and you know, a lot of them left the TV on. And well, anyway, I live near to Tampa, so there's constantly, you know, helicopters and planes that I hear. And when I do, I still, to this day, I'm 32, I'll be 33, you know, in 2 weeks. To this day, when I'm at home and I hear planes overhead, not that I can show it, you know, in front of the kids, but I am still terrified. And that's crazy, because what are the chances? It's a lot more likely that someone's going to come and knock on my door with a gun than a plane's going to fall out of the sky and crash in my house. But that fear, what else am I so afraid of that I have to feel like this every day? That, you know, I feel like there's an epidemic of anxiety and depression, and I'm sure that that's a little exaggerated, that most people have always felt these feelings, and it's just that we're more open to talk about it nowadays. But maybe there is something to it, you know. Why do I feel like this all the time? Why do I feel like if I sit down to write something, I don't have time to write out the details because the clock's ticking? And I guess in my particular situation, like, it's a good possibility that if I really get into a groove, somebody's going to burst in that door. Somebody's going to interrupt me, and I'm going to lose my train of thought. So I kind of need to get it all out. But even still, like, I could write it down and outline it and then flesh it out later, but I don't. I sit down like the world is on fire, and if I don't, rush out everything I need to say and express in, 5 minutes or less, that I'll never be able to get it out. And I don't take time to edit, and I don't take time to go back and change things or add things in. I don't take a second to, I don't know, go back and write something new with more detail and expression. It's like when you're driving and someone's tailgating you. You like have that urge to get out of their way or speed up. I don't really like to speed up because I'm an old lady and I drive slowly, but I feel like that all the time. Like there's somebody tailgating me constantly, and I'm sure that that's a trauma response. And I'm sure there are much more intelligent people than me that could tell you that that's the case, and not everyone feels this constant, overwhelming, dreadful feeling. I don't know. Like I'm always being rushed. Everything I do has to be in a hurry. And I feel like I'm instilling that sense of, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't know. I feel like I'm instilling it in my children, though. I'm causing them anxiety. I'm teaching them that they need to be anxious and they need to be concerned and they need to be in a hurry as well. And that sucks, man, because this is a shitty feeling, It's like not a pleasant feeling to feel that everything you say or do has to be done immediately or something terrible is going to happen.